All right, so welcome to the session. So what we're going to do today is really assess where businesses are using plastic and how we can replace that. We're going to have maybe some more people joining in during the call. So if you're just arriving, we'll have some time to check in and talk about things as the session goes. Today, we're really going to be looking at where plastic is being used in a business and assessing how we can replace it. It might seem like such a difficult task, but what we're going to do also is actually start measuring it, which is a key kind of just to get us started. It can be very helpful to measure and see exactly where we're using this plastic. Feel free to join in anytime to say whatever you'd like to say, share your opinions. As I go through this, there's going to be plenty of time for us to share. So I will get started. And also, I want to share with you this form. So it's going to be in the chat. If you follow the presentation, you'll be able to also follow along with this form to answer the questions that I'm going to be sharing with you. So I will also show how this will work so you can follow along. Right, so I'll get started here. All right, so how to stop using plastic as a business. Like I said, I'm going to present how we can replace it. We're going to identify where and why it's being used and if it's necessary, which is a very important part of this. So why is it necessary? And the feasibility of replacing it. And a lot of times we're going to see that replacing it requires a change to our business model. So we're not just changing material for material. We're really doing some other changes that will help us reduce the use of material. And of course, there's a challenge that you can do as a business. You can join, it's available on our website. I will share it later on. And you can join this challenge to basically replace plastic in your business, reduce it, of course, hopefully eliminate it. But you will be able to use these tools and have some help also from me. And we'll see who else might be able to help in this project. So, and what I'm suggesting is as simple, just if we remove or replace just 1 kilogram of plastic a day from sales, imagine that you could be diverting up to 10,000 plastic water bottles from landfill per year. So just the amount of 1 kilogram, which might seem like so little, just removing that from sales can have such a big impact from diverting this plastic waste from landfill or from our oceans or the environment, wherever it ends up. Why are we doing this? This is very quick. A lot of people already understand why I would be saying let's eliminate it rather than recycle it. But I will just share this really quickly. So an average of only 9% of plastic gets recycled. Recycled plastic also is more likely to leach chemicals into its surroundings, so around food and beverages. It's linked to health issues like cancers, problems with hormonal functions as well, hormone functions. We obviously know that plastic pollutes wildlife habitat and kills animals. And of course, when we take part in reducing and eliminating plastic, we're prompting other producers, we're helping customers use these new materials, these new business models, and eventually we're going to have this stronger system, the stronger infrastructure, ecosystem of businesses also that are working together. So I'll get started. If you guys want to follow along, like I said, you have this this form. Who's interested? So I'll just ask real quick, who's interested in following this form for their business right now? You guys are welcome to jump in. I know, I think, so Vishnu and Rachel, you guys already do a fantastic job on reducing plastic, Anu as well. So I'll just share how this will go really quickly. So you can just follow this form by answering the questions as I will go through the presentation. So you'll see that every part of the presentation has a corresponding part in this form. And by the end of it, you'll have an assessment of where you're using plastic in your business. And at the end of the session, of course, we're going to be able to calculate that footprint using a very simple formula. Okay, so production, transport, use, end of life. When are you using or producing plastic waste? Well, packaging, plastic packaging accounts for 40% of plastic waste. It can be more even. And I'm to simplify this again. So this whole process that we're going through today is really just to get businesses started on reducing and eliminating plastic, particularly small businesses, as it might be easier just because of the number and the amount of sales that you make. So we're going to simplify this as much as possible. And then you can build on from there. So when we're talking about plastic packaging, we can divide it into two categories. We can say it can be functional and or aesthetic. So if it's functional, we'll assess these types of functionality. So the packaging is used to protect the quality of the product, like stopping it from spoiling or breaking. Like in eggs, for example, it can be stopping it from breaking, or it can currently or seemingly be integral to the use of a product, like plastic container for a takeaway business or applicators on tampons. So it can be seemingly, and I say the word seemingly integral because we might be able to find ways around that. So is it really necessary for us to use plastic here? Is it really necessary for us to use a package here or this type of function for it? So a functional way of using it. So my first question here would be, is there a sustainable and financially feasible alternative to this package? You might be kind of becoming more familiar with bioplastics that are on the market, promising that they're compostable, that they're biodegradable, which is great. These are excellent alternatives. However, we need to make sure that wherever we're selling them, there is a facility that will actually be able to collect them and compost or process them correctly for them to biodegrade. So it's very important to be careful with what materials we're using to make sure that they're actually compostable, what they're breaking down into. Also, are they breaking into down into toxic materials? And if these facilities are actually available to compost them and process them correctly. And it's very important to understand here that we can't all just switch to using paper. So even though paper has seen a giant increase in sales, but we can't just switch only to paper. If you guys have any comments so far, if you have any suggestions, anything that you're seeing in your businesses that you'd like to share, please go ahead on this topic.
Lara, I just want to mention just one small thing, that when you talk about replacing, so you're talking about a reusable packaging, reusable container?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question from the beginning. I'm just going to put the volume up. And can you try again, please?
Yeah, I said when you're talking about replacing the packaging,
yes,
are you talking about reusing, finding a reuse packaging?
So in this situation, I'll get to the reuse part next, but here I'm just thinking about package per package. Okay, so I'm thinking about, and this is where it's very unlikely that you will find it. So I'm saying, is there a sustainable and financially feasible alternative to that package? So if you're actually producing on a mass scale, or even as a small business, you are selling your product in an individual package that is just disposable, it's very unlikely that you will find a financially feasible replacement just package per package, right? Or package for package. I think that's more accurate. So in this situation, I know, yes, I am talking about disposable, but I will get to it in just 2 slides to talk about how reuse is probably a much better option. Does that answer your question? Do you have any other comments?
Yeah, I will have more to add. But, let's come to the reuse and then we'll add.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you're looking at new materials, so there are material libraries that are available that can help you in this process. So obviously there are brands already out there that are providing these compostable, biodegradable materials. But there are also material libraries that like Materium, for example, which is open for you to look at new materials that are being developed and find ways to even prototype, to maybe connect with the designer to develop these materials. So these are a lot of great business opportunities that are coming up there. And of course, I mean, you can use materials that are currently and effectively reused or recycled, like glass and aluminum. So when I talk about glass, for example, glass, ideally, we cannot use it as a single-use item. It's definitely not feasible because of the energy that it takes to recycle it. It weighs more, so transport produces higher emissions. So glass, for example, would be a great alternative because it's already there, but you would have to figure out how to make it something that is reusable rather than disposable. If you're thinking about kind of the LCA of materials when it comes to plastic, so plastic, a lot of times we'd see in literature that plastic might have performed better in terms of life cycle analysis. A lot of these studies, I just want to mention, don't take into account how little plastic is actually being recycled. So do pay attention to the study that you're looking at and make sure that how little plastic being recycled is actually taken into account. So plastic will perform poorly in that regard. So if another material does not seem feasible, changing your business model might be in order. And this is what I was talking about, Anu. So you would have to change your business model, and changing your business model is likely a reuse or refill. So here are some options that I will share. So how you deliver your product might change, maybe opting for refills or selling in different locations, or opting for reuse here also works. Changing who you partner with to produce, deliver, and dispose of your product. You might also make changes to the product to make it easier to package, like going for solid instead of liquid. We're seeing this a lot with detergents, with shampoo, cosmetic products, which is excellent. Changing your relationship with your customer, like take back programs, sharing or leasing your product. Here also reuse would fit in here as well. So you have this take back program with your customer, and therefore actually building a stronger relationship with the customer. So or changing your target client if you need to elevate the quality of your product, or you might actually need to increase the price or even reduce the price. So you might find that you will be saving money when you go plastic free. So we have this idea that we'll be raising our prices, but there are plenty of studies that show that you can decrease your cost by going more sustainable and by reducing plastic use. If you guys have any comments, go for it. Otherwise, I'll continue. All right, so aesthetic. Some plastic packaging can just kind of be there more for the visual appeal of it. So I used here an example. I'm not sure actually if this is a product that's on the market or it was just a mock-up, but something like this where the plastic is actually just being used to make the product more attractive. It can have other functions that can be really great functions. They can be helpful to different clients with different needs. So I don't want to take that away from why the product has been packaged this way or produced aesthetically this way. But so it's just not good for the environment. We have to find a way to do this, to accomplish this without the plastic. So maintaining a healthy profit margin, of course, is very important. So again, here, changing your business model might be needed to accomplish this without raising your prices. However, I want to mention that there are a lot of new tax cuts, subsidies, grants, competitions. There are so many ways that you can actually fund trials. You can fund different, how you're going to prototype new materials. So there are a lot of resources that are becoming available for sustainable businesses or businesses transitioning into sustainability, into circularity. So do take advantage of these. They're there to help, and there are plenty of them now. So maybe 10 years ago, becoming sustainable had a lot more obstacles. I think we're seeing a lot more ease now, and facilitating, just to facilitate this, these changes, this transition. Do you guys have any comments also about subsidies, tax cuts, grants? If you've received any, or you have any suggestions about that, maybe you can leave it in the chat. I can share it also when I share this video, so others can take advantage of that as well. All right, so now that we've covered the packaging in a very, like I said, very basic, very simplified way, but it's there to get us started. The next step I'm going to ask is this product durable or single use? So the actual product now is plastic. Is it a durable product, or is it single use? So if your product is durable and can be used for a long time, how do you make sure that it does not end up in landfill? So let's say you produce appliances, let's say you produce car parts, whatever it is that's going to be durable, long lasting, how are you ensuring that your product is not ending up in landfill? Your product is your responsibility. So of course, like I said before, we'll check if it's currently feasible to change that material. Possibly you can find a substitution for this material. But if it's a durable product, possibly you can work with something where you're changing the business model. You can do take back programs, sharing, turning the product into a service, which is something that we're seeing becoming more and more common with appliances. So instead of selling this product, the business keeps ownership of it, and therefore is responsible now for that plastic and for maintaining that product. So we know, so as a business owner, if this is your business and you're offering a durable product, you know it's not going to end up in landfill. Your product is single use. So if a change in material, like we mentioned earlier in packaging, is actually not available for you, it's not feasible financially, where you sell composting, or composting facilities are not actually available, you're going to have to here, if you really do want to make that change, and it's very likely that you will have to because of laws and regulations being put in place, it's very interesting to look into why this product is single use. So is disposability your main selling point? Why is that? Can you change that, right? And in some cases, you might have to kind of change the whole business because really, due to regulation and of course to environmental conditions that are happening at the moment, this is no longer feasible. So in this situation, it's very interesting to actually look at why disposability is your main selling point and if you can change it. Yeah, so if you guys have any comments here as well, do share.
Can I mention one thing, Lara?
Go for it.
I am coming from a country which has a very big consumer muscle.
Yes.
We are huge, and just 5% of Americans are producing 30% of the waste. I just want to mention that just because something is compostable or recyclable doesn't make it good, because these are just the attributes which are given to some things. And we use these attributes as proxies to understand and predict the environmental impact of any stuff. But understanding the environmental impacts requires LCA, which I'm glad that you mentioned, and the science, which is not available right now. And that is why I think we rely on these attributes of recyclability and compostability. Well, something is recyclable, so it must be good to use. So let's just use that and throw it away. Just to make a short story, I was at at a place where they were making electrical buses, 20,000 in 1 year. They had a huge luncheon where they all use compostable plates and plastic cups, all going into the same trash bins. So my whole point, just because it's compostable doesn't make it good. It's just an attribute that we attach to something.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree. And so just so many places don't have the facilities yet. And also, as we mentioned, recycling is not, it's not enough in any way. So thank you so much for sharing that. And this is something I'm sure we see all over. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as I said here, and I will repeat again, so for disposable, compostable, and biodegradable to be environmentally viable for mass production, it needs to be regulated and it needs to be taken to the right facilities. So sometimes you might have to try your hand at a different business. If this is what you currently offer, it's a single-use product and you can't find a feasible solution, you might have to change the business. And this is something, it's not new in the business world. It's very common for us to be going in one direction and have to change. And regulations are going to come in place that will make it more difficult for you to continue in single use. And there's going to be taxes also making it more and more difficult. So it might be a good idea to start now and figure out what is a better direction. So of course, this is other than the environmental impact. So if that's not something major, possibly regulation will be a factor that will direct you in that change. Okay, so does it seem like plastic is necessary for your business? So we're going to explore this necessary in a series of slides here. I think it's quite interesting. So yes, profit is important and customer satisfaction and convenience is necessary. So if your customer is not satisfied with the product, it's not convenient for them, it's very likely that they might not buy it. But some priorities need to change. So the damage that plastic causes outweighs your individual business making profit. So if I'm going to kind of look at, yes, I need to make this profit right now, I need to keep the business afloat. Yes, that's true, but really changes need to be implemented because the damage that plastic is causing really outweighs this need for profit. So long as there's poor plastic recovery and quality depreciation, feasibly designing out plastic from your business in the near future is likely a good step for you, for any business, really. I'll briefly go through these. So around the office, you can definitely change things around the office. So try to eliminate single-use plastics from decorations, for example. Stop using decorations around the office. This can help you save money. So not just, of course, decorations, I'm talking also about single-use, but also decorations, decorative items in anywhere in our houses, in offices that are made of plastic. Perhaps we can change that habit and not use them anymore. Of course, eliminate single-use plastics from our offices. And this can save money by buying less, and also on trash disposal, so you can save money there as a business. Go for secondhand when you need tools, electronics, furniture. You can also sell what you don't use anymore. So make sure that you're not throwing something away that someone else can use as well. Get your team involved in a plastic challenge. We have one at Why Not Sustainable. So if you'd like to do that, you can also try ours. You can share it later. And where you can't fix it just yet, offset. So offsetting is becoming this giant word everyone's using. However, I'm really glad to see, like, for example, in the EU, now there's very strict regulations that are going to be in place on who can say they're offsetting, on the idea of carbon neutral. So all of this is helping avoid greenwashing that would have taken place, that had already started taking place, but would have taken place. So it's very unlikely that you'll be able to replace all plastics in your business at once. And this will very likely be a process for you and your business, but a plan of action is needed to start replacing plastic. And meanwhile, in that time, as you're trying to arrive at your goal and you're working towards that goal, you can take actions like offsetting, like donating to plastic campaigns, like volunteering, getting involved in the issue of solving plastic. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. And of course, calculating your plastic footprint can be a very good step to reporting on that. So you're calculating your plastic footprint for several reasons, if this is something that you're interested in. First of all, to see where it is in your business that you're using the most plastic and why and how you can replace it. And also, this is something clients want to know. So your reporting is no longer voluntary in a lot of places. It's becoming mandatory. I know in the EU by 2024, it's mandatory. So finding what you want to share about your business is very interesting as well, even if it's just voluntary. So what do your customers want to know? Is this relevant to your business? How much plastic you're actually using? How much plastic you're avoiding using? So this could be very useful information for your clients as well. I wanted to share also the idea of, I wanted to continue to work on the idea of, so is plastic necessary in my business? And this I shared in a presentation, in a different presentation as well. So if circularity is in fact at the heart of your business, would your product be viable? Are you valuing it as much as you value profit? So if a business is not generating profit, we know that it's not viable. But if a business is generating waste, right now it's still viable. So if a business is generating waste, really it's not viable. So here, this again is changing that priority. So profit is no longer just the only priority. We need to take care of the environment as well and the social aspect of our businesses. Any comments here?
I do. Do you want me to wait until the end, until you finish?
Oh no, absolutely. We're almost done. I'm just going to share how to calculate plastic footprint real quick, and obviously we can have a discussion afterwards. But you're free to share right now.
Well, I was going to say that I'm such a fan of an old adage: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Actually, which is a hierarchy of options in that order. And I think we do such a lip service when it comes to following that, reuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, conscious consumption, and sustainable production also of the material are the three legs of the proverbial stool, right? When it comes to circularity, let me tell you what people think here. Circularity or circular economy means that all the materials are kept in loops of recycling. And there is no disposal and everything is recycled. Well, I just want to say as a scientist and as someone who has studied physics, that this is thermodynamically impossible. We don't actually have a landfill crisis, but we have a climate crisis and an ecosystem crisis. So when we make massive amounts of materials, thinking that we can just keep recycling them, and creating them in such damaging ways, it is a bit like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. Busy work might provide a lot of satisfaction to a lot of people, but it's not sufficient. It's just doomed. So that's the only comment I want to make in the field.
This is very valuable. This is very valuable, of course. Right. Thank you for sharing, Anu. Yeah, so reducing, this is what I'm talking about also with changing the business model. So it's very, and it's very unlikely really that you'll be able to change material for material. It's not cost effective anyways. It's not so even as a business, from a business perspective, it's not going to be feasible in most situations. So I definitely agree on how much material we're using. It needs to be reduced drastically. Consumer behavior needs to change as well. So there are many facets, and actually these are great business opportunities as well to think about how you can actually solve these problems for customers. So I think this is great what you're sharing. Maybe it will actually kind of go in line with something that I will share here. I'd love to hear your opinion on it as well. So here I go on to say also if circularity were in fact at the heart of your business, would your product be viable? So again, is it as valued as profit? And consider that a product you're currently offering at mass is not a product you can actually offer sustainably. So monocultures, for example, depleting soil. This has nothing to do with plastics, but monocultures depleting soils. This is not a product that is actually viable anymore. Mass productions of clothing, not a viable product. Plastic prepackaged meals, probably not a viable product as well. Single-use convenience items. So this here also would be an issue. So I'm also proposing this, so we'll try it together. So if you want to have drinks outdoors and you have glasses at home, right? So you have glass, and you think, oh, these might break and hurt someone, right? So you have that scenario. And as an entrepreneur, you might think, okay, I will start a business to make having drinks outdoors convenient and safe. So you look at the materials available on the market, and plastic is the cheapest and most viable financially. So you say, oh, I have to use plastic. And really what I'm suggesting that unless you can find a material that doesn't break and is in fact sustainable, and here it's most likely going to be something that is reusable, you cannot offer, or you cannot have a business that offers this. You cannot have these drinks outdoors yet. So you have to find that material that is in fact something that is sustainable, that can be reused for a long time, or is sustainable in a different way. So there are many options that are out there now. But from what you're saying, Anu, I think this goes in line as well with what you're saying. I'd love to hear your opinion. I have one more example of that.
Yeah, I think so much hinges on the ability to capture all these items back. And, for example, reusing it enough times so that the impact of producing it one time and reusing and washing it 8 times is smaller than the impact of producing is 8 times, eight single-use
Absolutely.
item times. That's where we need a little bit of oversight. Because I think it's easier to define what is reused than to actually ensure that it's being reused. So just want to make that.
Absolutely. I think it's really great because so we have on this call also Vishnu and Rachel, which
Hello.
are working in exactly in reuse and how to make that feasible and how to be able to track that. So maybe at the end of the session, we can share a bit more about that. But yes, absolutely. So how can you track that how many times this product is being reused? How do you track even what happens to it at the end of its life cycle, at the end of its use cycle? So this is all very, very interesting. Great to hear it. So I give also this this other example. So you want to sell a delicious yogurt, you say yes, or you make this delicious yogurt, you think you're an entrepreneur, so you're an entrepreneur and you think it's just an excellent yogurt, I make it from such great resources. Let's say you have a farm, the animals are treated really well, you're making this excellent yogurt, and you say, yes, I will start a business to make delicious yogurt available to everyone. Again, you look at the materials on the market, and plastic is the cheapest and most financially viable. So you say, oh, I have to use plastic. Again here, my suggestion is that unless you can find a material that you know will not end up in landfill, you cannot have that convenience of selling this yogurt at that profit margin. It's just not something that's viable. And I also want to add that it's likely that you'll be able to make a higher profit margin if you partner, let's say, with a company that offers a reusable package, for example, and you have this new partnership where it might actually bring down the cost. So this is just one little example. And you might actually be able to deliver that product in a cost-effective and a profitable way. However, unless you can find this material that will not end up in landfill, really, it's not something that's viable in a circular economy. So if you guys want to talk about anything, or you have anything else to share, please go for it. Otherwise, I will just be sharing plastic footprint and how to calculate it really quickly. Any other comments? And maybe not. Okay. So plastic footprint. This is actually, so what I'm sharing here is something really, really simplified, but very effective. And anyone can do this. It's just a simple Excel sheet. I can share this with, I will probably leave a link to this also for anyone to be able to use. So it's as simple as calculating. So you can look at your inventory and you need a scale and your inventory sheet. So, and probably I'll mention some other things that you might need. So obviously this is very simplified. You might have other, it might be a bit problematic in certain businesses, but I will just share this as a place to start, as a starting point. So I will look at, let's say, 3 items that I sell in a package. The weight of the package is 30 grams in package number 1. How many of that do I sell per year? Let's say it's 150. So the total weight of these items per year would be this value over here. And I do that for the different packages that I sell, right? And then I have, let's say I sell 2 other products, and one product weighs 70 grams. I sell 700 units per year. So this will be the total weight of the item sold per year. And this here is in grams. So just the summation of these values will give you your plastic footprint. So it's the weight of the plastic that you sell in the business or that you use. So here I've divided that by 1,000 to get it to kilograms. So it's really, as I said, very simplified. However, it's very useful. You'll be able to see which product, which package is producing the worst impact, how you can tackle it. You'll be able to have transparency with your customers. How much are you actually using per year? You can share your progress. If year 1 you're using this much plastic, you'll be able to share how much you decreased your plastic use, for example, after a year, after 2, after 3. The complications many complications might come into this, right? So let's say you receive items in a plastic package. How do you deal with that? So you can also start to calculate that as well. How do you calculate the amount of plastic that is used in your office kitchen, for example, around the office? So there are many other places that you might be using plastic in as well. But like I said, this can be just a place to start. And then, of course, adding in the different areas you might be using plastic as well. So yeah, this is my presentation for today. You can find all this information on our website, Why Not Sustainable, if you go to campaign. And oops, that doesn't happen all the time. But you go to campaign and you'll see here in our campaign, you can take actions as a customer, as a small business, and as a corporation. So if you go to as a small business, you'll be able to click here. You'll have all the information that I shared in this presentation over here in detail, and you'll be able to start the challenge. So going step by step, you'll be able to use a calculator. So I can maybe share that real quick as well. Sorry about that over here. So here you will be able to basically follow the simple formula that I shared earlier, but you'll also have access to a plastic footprint calculator. This will help you around the office, for example. So how many you can work with your with whoever is in the office with you. So your colleagues, they can fill in this very simplified and useful plastic footprint calculator. So you can say, for example, we use nobody should be using bottles, but let's say you use 1 bottle a year, maybe 2 yogurt containers a week. So you can fill in this information, and at the end over here, you will receive how much you actually produce per year. And of course, we share many tips on how to reduce your impact, both as a business and as a customer, as an individual. So yeah, this is my presentation for today. I'm going to stop the recording unless you'd like to share anything before I stopped the recording. All right, so I will stop sharing. Okay,